Know someone in your life celebrating a birthday? They deserve to feel truly celebrated. That's what 1-800-Flowers has helped people do for 50 years, turning everyday gestures into meaningful moments of connection. And this April, during their 50th birthday celebration event, when you buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off. Celebrate more birthdays with our 50th birthday event all April long at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast. Buy one bouquet, get a second bouquet 50% off at 1-800-Flowers.com/podcast.
It's Car Con Carne. Let's eat in the car. It's Car Con Carne. And now here's the star of our show, James Van Alstyne.
And welcome to Car Con Carne, sponsored tonight by our friends at C&H Financial Services, also Siren Records in McHenry. I'm James Van Alstyne. And I don't know if you missed it last night, but you should catch up. Max the Fox, fantastic Chicago band. Max the Fox was on the show. A super fun interview, super talented band. And if you watch the video version on YouTube or Facebook, they turn on their fog machine in their practice space, which I may have to insist on for every future artist interview in practice spaces. Coming up tomorrow night, the 80s influenced band, the transcontinental band Rain Rabbit. And on Thursday, how about this? Kenny Johnson, you see him every week on SWAT, on the TV show SWAT. He's been on Sons of Anarchy. He's been on Bates Motel. He appeared on Smallville. He was in the first Blade movie. Kenny Johnson will be on this show. And later Thursday night, we're going to head to the South Side to talk about the Dixie Highway Brewery Trail with local brewers, craft brewers from around that area, Blue Island and onward. So that's all. Oh, and Justice Hill is with me Friday night. Singer-producer Justice Hill on the eve-ish of his solo album coming out. So much good stuff coming up. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. This is Car Con Carne. My guest tonight, she is nothing short of a force of nature. The force of nature behind the band Djunah. It is Donna Diane. Hello, Donna.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
I just want to put who you are in context. Ex Voto was easily one of my favorite albums of the past few years. It's this noisy, angular post-punk thing with earth-shaking, bowel-rattling guitar. And at some point, I want to do, I'm going to just put you on notice right now. I want to do a proper music interview with you at some point. but that's not going to happen tonight. I've talked on throughout the past 12, 13 months, throughout the pandemic. I've tried to. I've done the best I could. Talk about mental health and suicide, two issues which certainly seem to exacerbate during this time of uncertainty and crisis. The past 13 months have been extraordinarily hard for so many of us. And just this past week, I saw a post that you made on the Djunah Instagram account. Stopped me in my tracks. Can I don't want to necessarily put your words in my mouth, but can I read the first paragraph?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you wrote, I hemmed and hawed about posting this, but I think it's important. So here goes. This past year, I was diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or C-PTSD. I thought it was important to share this because, one, not many people know what C-PTSD is. And two, although I've been dealing with this disorder for 20 years, most of that time I was misdiagnosed. I only recently got the treatment I needed, and I'm glad I did because it saved my life. That last sentence was shocking. I mean, things were really bad on your end, and you explained why in the post. In short, you explained that C-PTSD is a total mindfuck, your words, and that it's closely linked to suicide. So let's start there, Diana. What is C-PTSD?
So complex post-traumatic stress disorder, a lot of people have heard of regular PTSD, which is caused by a single or specific traumatic event. C-PTSD is caused by complex trauma, which is traumatic events that are repeated over time, sustained over time. So it manifests in some of the similar ways as regular PTSD, and then other ways it's different. So sometimes I'll see stuff about like PTSD online. I had a lot of misconceptions about it just from, just stuff you read on the internet. You don't really know what it is. But I haven't really seen anything about complex trauma, so I kind of thought that maybe it's important to just start talking about it and just seeing who else is out there that has been dealing with it. And I was actually really shocked at the number of people that reached out to me, both like publicly and privately, to tell me they have this exact same thing. And I was just overwhelmed and really happy to just be able to talk about it with people.
It's so interesting because for a lot of us, we hear PTSD and we kind of understand what it is. And in my head, I mean, growing up, it was people who went through war, but it is, I mean, I guess that's the way we were all taught growing up, but it's things on the home front. It's things in everyday life that can just snowball and become what this is.
Yeah. So for complex trauma, it can be, sometimes it could be like a domestic violence situation. Most of the time it's some sort of repeated abuse during childhood. So a lot of people, this happens very early in life and it doesn't often manifest until later, usually early adulthood, teenage years, early adulthood is when, that was the first time I knew something was up with me, but I didn't know what it was. And it took many, many years to get to a therapist who could correctly diagnose it. And also for me to accept that that's what it was, just because it's something that like, a lot of people will talk about like bipolar. There's a lot more knowledge out there about that and regular PTSD. So I just didn't understand, I had all these misconceptions. I was like, is this like a new fad diagnosis that's out there? I mean, it's like, I had never heard of it before, but really I went through this fall and winter, I went through like a 2-month intensive trauma program. And that's when I really understood just the gamut of different trauma disorders and really how it fit in my own life and explained a lot for me.
And I do want to talk about the treatment because there's an awful lot of acronyms
in
treating this. To say nothing of the fact that C-PTSD is an acronym. Acronym, right?
Yes.
Yeah, acronym. But this past year, musicians were sidelined, and it was hard for everybody. It was hard financially, it was hard emotionally, it was hard artistically. Given that you were already in this state, this delicate situation, not being able to be Djunah, not being able to perform, I'm sure only sped things along much faster than they should have gone. Yeah.
So the way that it's worked for me and the way I've interacted with other people who have trauma disorders, it kind of seems over your lifetime, it goes in waves. There's sometimes where you're doing pretty okay. And then all of a sudden something kind of breaks down and then you really have to dig in deep and deal with it. And then usually you can get it back up and you just kind of have to like go with it. So there's definitely been different phases in my life. And I could kind of feel that something was kind of off. Actually, even before COVID happened, when we did the album release, it was a ton of work. And I think a lot of artists could relate to it who have been doing this for a while. I mean, it's increasingly more and more work that artists have to take on themselves. And it's, in my opinion, we're at a breaking point. I mean, I don't know anybody that can handle doing all this stuff by themselves. I mean, you're not just writing and recording, you're doing all the promotion, all the booking, everything. And with all the social media on top of that, it's just, to me, it's too much.
Well, because I experienced this to a much lesser degree with podcasting. You're working both sides of the brain. You've got the creative outlet, then you have to turn it into a business. You have to monetize it. You have to think about it. You have to think about social media, and you have to plan weeks, months ahead and talk to this person. It's the two sides of being a performer are always in conflict with one another. Oh yeah. And I mean, it's something it's a lot for anybody in a healthy state. And then when you're also dealing with mental health issues, and not even just mental health issues, but any kind of
disorder, disability, physical, mental, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a ton to manage on top of that. And, you know, some of the stuff, like, frankly, I mean, social media has been, in some sense, has been proven to have a negative effect on mental health if you're not using it the right way. So it's like, I think it's so important to start talking about this stuff and really, you know, let people know that they're not alone in feeling like there are days you just don't want to fucking do this, you know?
Well, you commented in response to this post, that one of your comments to someone, you said, I've read that up to 70% of musicians struggle with mental health issues and that musicians use live performance as an emotional outlet, which makes perfect sense. But that number seems unbelievably high.
Oh, yeah. I mean, because when I was doing the post, I was looking up, like, is there, what's going on in the industry right now? Is there like a hashtag people are using or something? And one of the first things that came up was like a Rolling Stone article from about a year ago that was that said that statistic. And I was like, what other industry do 70% of people suffer from something? And like, it's not like seen as a crisis, you know? I mean, it seems insane to me that we're not constantly talking about this. Like, if that's true, I mean, even if the 70%, you know, even if it's 30%, that's still a ton of people. And it's not just musicians. It is all the people working behind the scenes, the staff in venues, the live sound people. I mean, everybody has to deal with this stuff. And to some extent, I mean, it makes me a little angry to some extent, because it's like, why do we accept this? Why do we be like, oh yeah, it's a creative industry. Of course, there's going to be a lot of mental illness because people do art in order to cope with their mental illness. It's like, well, yeah, but that doesn't replace like proper treatment and accommodating this stuff. So
absolutely. It's such a weird taboo for society to not want to talk about mental health and taking care of people and pointing them in the right direction and preventing suicide.
Yes. To me,
I mean, how is this taboo? Let's take care of each other.
It was funny to me when I did the post, because I didn't even realize, I think, the extent of the stigma people feel about it. Because for me, I was always like embarrassed of my disorder because I didn't understand it. I didn't know I just thought like I have some weird form of depression that I guess I can't handle, or I don't really know what it is. And once somebody finally said, this is it, and then explained to me, this is how it worked, and I realized, like, this is me. It's like, I don't feel any shame about talking about it. Like, I want to talk about it with people. And then I realized, like, it is good that I'm talking about this, because there's a lot of people who just feel like they can't even, like, express it. It's not, for some people it's not safe to express it, and I totally appreciate that. So for me, I'm like, I don't give a fuck, so I will talk all day about it.
I'm so glad you did. And like I mentioned before we started recording, there are a lot of musicians who listen to this podcast, who watch this podcast. If we can engender some kind of community and just encourage more conversation, you've heard the cliche, normalize the conversation about mental health and suicide. Every conversation like this has got to help, I hope.
Yes, and I'm so appreciative that you're doing that. And I think it's not just for people who are struggling with mental illness. I think everybody else who has friends and family that struggle with this, they want to know how to talk about it with their loved ones. They just don't know how. Nobody's saying, like, this is how you talk to people, especially with like trauma disorders. I mean, it's like, people want to say the right thing, but they don't know what to say. And there's just like I feel like, a lot of, especially with trauma disorders, it's been almost politicized with like this whole idea of like triggers and triggering people. Yeah. And, it's like, it makes me upset, just like how COVID's been politicized. It's like, we should not be politicizing these disorders. These are real things that have real terminology, and it's important to learn about them.
Totally agree. So this past year, you reached a point where you sought therapy. I mean, how bad did it get for you?
For me, it was just over the summer. I was realizing my last kind of wave of like crisis feelings was probably about like 7 or 8 years ago. It was right before I started playing music again. And I could recognize, like, so in C-PTSD, it's primarily an emotional regulation disorder. So whereas like an average person, like something might happen that'll like upset you or make you sad or make you feel afraid. But the emotion comes and then it just kind of goes away and you just are like, okay, I felt that. But, you know, for C-PTSD, it's, you can have difficulty getting off of emotions. And how it's been explained to me is it's kind of like whatever the trauma was in the past, you start re-experiencing those emotions as if they're being caused in the present. That's why I call it a total mindfuck.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a lot of the work is separating the two so you can leave the stuff that's in the past and see kind of the present for what it is, basically. So I was having just like a lot of like really strong emotions where, you know, I would just be like angry all day or just sad all day. And I'm like, I don't even know what's causing it. It's just coming out of nowhere. I mean, it's like COVID. I'm not even going out and interacting with people, and this is just happening. And so I found a therapist and started working on a weekly basis. And sometimes with trauma disorders, when you start getting back into it in therapy, it can really blow up before it heals. And that's kind of what happened to me. And thank God she recommended this intensive program I did for 2 months. It's through Compass Health Center. I just want to like tell everyone about it because they don't just do trauma disorders. They do depression and anxiety too. They do it in a group setting, and that having that like intensive treatment really showed me like I learned so much from it. I learned so much about trauma, interacting with other people with my same trauma disorders, different trauma disorders. I just learned so much and really saw how there's sort of like this layer of the past that's just kind of like a veil that just kind of dampens everything. And these people are such beautiful people. I mean, some of these people, it's like, I'll be friends with these people for life. I mean, it's just like gorgeous, gorgeous people. And when I saw it, it's like, no one, this person is so wonderful. They should never, ever lose hope or feel like they want to end it, you know? And then once you see that in someone else, then you see that in yourself too. So like, to me, that was invaluable, getting that kind of treatment.
Yeah. How nice for you to be able to be with other people and realize, okay, it's not just me floating out here in space struggling. It's there are other people who are dealing with stuff and we can actually help each other.
Yes. I mean, I've been in and out of therapy for like 20 years because like I said, there's like, sometimes things are good and then sometimes it just all blows up. And I'd never had the experience of doing a group thing. I was worried it was going to be like a very medicalized hospital setting. And I was very adamant I did not want that. I was like, medication had never worked for me in the past. I was like, I'm not going on medication. I'm not, I was very stubborn about a lot of stuff. And I'm like, I don't know if I can trust doing like a group situation. And it blew me away. It was not a medical setting at all. It was really progressive people who work with so many different communities. And I really appreciated how they did it.
So as far as treatment goes, I mentioned the acronyms. I see CBT, DBT, ACT, and these are all different facets of the same type of treatment, right?
Yeah, so they're all, how I understand it is like they're all kind of originated for different types of trauma disorders. Like DBT, I think, was developed specifically for like a borderline personality disorder. And so that one is very focused on really grounding you and getting you in your senses. Because like I said, when you're kind of like in your head and you've got like your brain is like giving you signals that something is happening that's not happening. It's so important to really get into your senses, your sense of touch, your sense of smell. So it's different exercises to really get you out of that fight or flight mode in your brain and like get you grounded into reality. So I found those techniques like really useful. So at this program that I went to, they basically throw every form of therapy at you and just like see what sticks to you, which I kind of like that because like I feel like not everything works for everybody.
Sure.
So that was one of them. Another one, CPT, is, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say. I think it's like cognitive processing.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
Oh,
I did some quick research, changing behaviors associated with negative thought patterns.
Yes. Okay. So they did do that too. No, I'm talking about CPT, not CBT.
Like I said, too many acronyms.
I know it's totally absurd. Cognitive processing. I think it's cognitive processing theory or therapy or something. It's like when trauma occurs, you can have like different beliefs that form that are not helpful. So they're called stuck points, and you kind of like identify them and write out, maybe it's like I'm trying to think of like a PG one. It might be like, I can't trust anybody. You can't trust anybody. And then it's a whole series of questions to get you to really interrogate that belief that formed because of the trauma. Why did that belief form? Is it really true? How often is it true? Does this belief really help me? And so that kind of like helps you get rid of, some of those things that are really holding you back from moving forward with your life. If that makes sense.
It does. So I have two questions that kind of come at this from different angles. The first question is, for someone who knows someone like you who's suffering from something like this, from C-PTSD, someone who's clearly struggling, what advice can you give us to be more supportive and helpful?
I think so. It can be hard if somebody doesn't know that they have this disorder. I mean, I think that's kind of common that people feel like there's something wrong with them, but don't really know. It manifests to other people as like, oh, this person overreacts to things, or this person's really sensitive. I used to get that a lot when I was a kid, like, oh, you're a really sensitive kid. I think a lot of artists get that. It could seem like, just kind of like an overreactive, or this person, can be really flighty, maybe. Sometimes I've felt like that way in my life. Sometimes when I'm feeling more emotionally dysregulated, I kind of just like shut myself off from the world. So I kind of disappear for a bit. So it's important for me, like, to have friends that like are understanding about that, just kind of like pick up relationships where we left off, can be really helpful. Also, it's really helpful just having people who are good listeners. There is just across the board in life, there is a dearth of good listeners out there. And that can be one of the most important things. Like, I had a friend who, like, I started, what was it? I think he like posted something that kind of got me having some like stuff from the past showing up. And I was kind of like, what the hell did that mean? Why did you do this? And he did the most beautiful thing, which he just gave me a phone call, and he was like, hey, I just want to, like, I want you to tell me, like, what this means to you. Like, I want you to explain it to me. He was not defensive at all. And it was just like, it was one of the most wonderful conversations I've ever had. And then it helped me kind of like sort out, okay, maybe I'm like bringing some other stuff to this conversation that I didn't need to. This was before I went through trauma therapy, so I would have known a lot more. Then, so it just, even having that, a person who just wants to listen and wants to hear what you have to say and does not react, is like, that's really important in trauma therapy, is responding, not reacting to things. And so the more that everybody, even people that aren't struggling with this, can just respond in conversations, think, and then speak kind of a thing. It's simple stuff like that. I know people want like the magic words to say, but like a lot of times it's just being a good listener and being there to, pick up the phone.
And I think then speak is good life advice for anyone in any situation.
Yeah.
Just even removed from this conversation right now, good sound advice for everyone on planet Earth.
Yeah.
So I guess the other side of the question, Donna, is for a musician who's been in your situation, you all momentum, you got cool record, cool live gigs behind you, but you're having a hard time and you don't know how to even express it or what to do. What do you do if you're that artist? What do you recommend for that artist?
I would say like it can be hard to trust going into therapy. And I understand that because I've had my share of bad experiences in the past with it. I think people, because of the healthcare situation in this country, some people just don't even feel that they can afford it, which there are, in the post that I did, there are free low-cost resources out there, and people have done a really good job. Like over the past 20 years, I've seen a big shift in the therapy community and the healthcare community where like they're really taking into account the special types of circumstances communities of color face, queer and trans people face. And so there are a lot more options out there, because I think that's another fear people have, is like, they're not going to understand my specific situation, because different disorders do manifest differently depending on who you are and your identity. So I think my biggest advice is to really put yourself out there and go try to find therapy, try to find resources that are going to help you, and make a commitment to do it. Because that's another thing, is like, therapy is hard. It's not easy. People don't just wave a magic wand and you're better. It's a lifelong process. But if this is something that you've been struggling with for your whole life, you can do it. I'm doing it, and this is another myth that I really want to dispel, because a lot of artists believe this too, is because is such a connection between music and mental health issues. People sometimes think that's the source of their creativity, their depression, their big for me, it's like the big emotions are like a big fuel for songwriting. And I think that there can be a hesitancy to seek out that help, because you think, well, if I lose this that I'm so identified with, it's the reason that I started playing music, what's left? Who am I then? They're going to take everything that's interesting away from me. And it's so not true.
Right.
That mental illness is only holding you back. Like, the thing that makes your art powerful is you. And the stuff that you talk about, the trauma, the shit that's happened, that's not the mental illness. You can still talk about that in your art as you heal and become more able to speak about it. So I feel really strongly about that too. Like, making that clear to musicians. It's like, don't glorify your mental illness or think that that's like because I feel like I had that same tendency too, to just be like, oh, well, feeling like extreme like this is just, that's how you are if you're an artist.
Well, that's the way it's always been understood. You have to suffer for your art.
Yeah, it's such bullshit. I wish we would stop saying that. It's such like an old, like, I don't know, like 1960s mentality. Like, let's just stop. Like, we cannot lose any more people to this stuff. I don't want to see any more news about people dying. I mean, it's and I can speak from personal experience. It's like, my writing my process is so much better now that I've been doing the work. And I think my songwriting is so much better for it. And I feel like it's opening up parts of myself that I wouldn't have access to otherwise. So I can't say strongly enough how important it is to go try a bunch of stuff. Like, just try every therapy you can get your hands on. And if one doesn't work, move to the next one, but don't give up. Keep trying.
Amazing advice. So going back to that initial post, the reason why I invited you on tonight, the initial post, you put everything out there about C-PTSD. You said, as I mentioned at the beginning of the interview, getting therapy saved your life. How did you feel just before you hit send on that?
Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I had like written the post probably like several weeks prior, and it was just kind of like I said, having a hawing about it and being like, I don't know. It was more like this thing. It's like, am I going to say it right? Am I going to represent this correctly? Like, I don't have all the answers about it. I mean, I'm not a trained therapist. Like, I'm talking about therapy, but it's from the point of somebody who's gone through it. It's like, I'm probably not saying everything correctly, but ultimately I was just like, I just felt like I needed to do it for myself, if that makes sense. I know it seems like, because I'm communicating it to other people, it's for other people, but it was for me. I mean, it makes me feel, it's like kind of like a weight's been lifted off me, because it's like, I don't have to hide it or talk around it with people. I can just be like, yeah, this is a thing. Okay, moving on. Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not like I think some people think like, if they talk about like mental illness, it's going to be like this like dark night of the soul thing, and you have to like reveal all to, and it's just not. And it's like, there's ways to talk about it where you're just like, like the program that I did is a trauma program, but you never talked about, like, in a group setting, you never talked about the details of your trauma. You just call it like my trauma. And I think like there's a way we can talk about it publicly. It's like, you don't have to talk about every little detail of what happened to you. You can just talk about like what you're going through right now and what you need, what questions you have. And, I think people sometimes get afraid of like going into the gory details. It's like, we don't have to talk about this openly.
Well, I'm really glad you posted it, and I'm glad you got the help you needed. And
yeah, me too.
For sure. And I hope that others can learn from your example and be inspired if they need help to find it and seek it out and make it happen for themselves. Because, like you said, too many people are dying. Too many people are hurting. Help is there.
Yes. And I also want to say that I think this is so important, and I hope people talk about this too. After 20 years of dealing with this, the first time somebody brought this up to me was just last year. They asked me, like, do you have a safety plan? And I was like, I don't even know what that is. And you can Google it right now. Safety plan. The first hit that comes up is from like the National Suicide Prevention Center. It's just, I have mine right here. It's just like a 6-step worksheet that you do. And it's literally just the plan to keep you safe. If you've ever had suicidal thoughts, if you know someone who has, like, I would highly recommend sitting down either with a trained therapist or a loved one and filling out the safety plan. There's different things, like basically different coping strategies that you can use. If those don't work, these are the people to call. If those don't work, here are the professionals to call. And it's something really nice that just can take people step by step through what to do if you're feeling in crisis. And I think it's comforting for people to have, for their loved ones to have, so people know what to do. And there's no like, oh my God, how do I respond to this in the moment?
Well, I appreciate you talking about this stuff. And I'm glad you're in the spot you're in. And totally shifting gears, you mentioned writing and that your writing's in a good spot. I'm assuming we'll get more Djunah at some point.
Oh yeah, so we're working. This is the album behind me. This is my process. Yeah, I did not set up my room correctly for COVID because my guitar wall is over here. I've got this is just my messy. This is where I'm a big note cards person.
I was going to say, it looks like you're in a classroom.
I like having organizing all my thoughts. I got like song titles, notes about the songs. I have them grouped by theme right now. It's really funny because this is the first album that I've written as a proper album. Usually I'm so live music focused, just write songs to perform them live. And then when you got, a dozen songs, you go into the studio, record them. This one, it's because we haven't been able to play live, I've really consciously writing it as an album. So I'm super excited about it. It's I don't want to give COVID credit for anything, but it's kind of cool that it happened this way.
Awesome. All right. Hang on the line real quick. I want to thank you for joining me, Donna Diane. Thank you for watching. If you've been watching on YouTube or Facebook, thank you for listening. And support Djunah, DJUNAH. I feel if you don't have the visual in front of you, sometimes it helps.
Yeah.
All right. It's Car Con Carne.